Give me just a few minutes, and I'll give you back your last years of manifestation efforts. Not the endless affirmations, not the vision boards that slowly collected dust. I'm offering you the actual results you've been reaching for, the life you've imagined, the timeline you might have spent a decade trying to arrive at. And here's the secret no one told you. You were never meant to attract any of it. You were meant to shift into the version of reality where it already exists. Let's start with the truth about why manifestation hasn't been working the way you were told. For most people, manifestation begins with good intentions and powerful hope. You hear that your thoughts create your reality, that your beliefs shape your outcomes, that if you feel good, think positively, and act with intention, the universe will respond. So you begin the work. You visualize. You write your desires down. You recite affirmations in the mirror. You work on your vibration. You monitor your thoughts like a spiritual security guard. And for a while, it feels like progress. But then something happens. Life doesn't shift. The big things don't arrive. The opportunities stay silent. The breakthroughs keep missing. Or worse, things start to feel even more stagnant, as if your effort is somehow repelling what you're calling in. And this is where the real frustration begins. Because now you don't just feel disappointment, you feel self-doubt, shame, confusion. You start asking, am I doing this wrong? Is my energy off? Do I just not believe enough? This is the invisible prison that most manifestation teachings create. They sell the idea that you must think about the things you want to attract. But what they don't tell you is how often that very idea reinforces the belief that your desire is separate from you, distant, not here yet, something to be achieved rather than something to be accessed. That's the flaw in the system. It conditions you to view your desire as something out there, a future you have to work your way into, a reality you must attract like a magnet. But attraction as a concept is built on separation. It assumes the thing you want is not already yours. And when you live from that assumption, no matter how positive your thoughts are, you broadcast the same core frequency. It's not here yet. I'm not there yet. I still need to become more aligned, more deserving, more high vibe. And so you try harder. You micromanage your mind. You avoid negative thoughts like they're poison. You force gratitude. You become a master at suppressing doubt. And in doing so, you create the most powerful blocker of all, resistance disguised as discipline. You're chasing a reality you believe is on the horizon, instead of realizing it's already fully formed, fully available, just not in the version of reality you're currently standing in. Let's pause here. Has your life ever changed in a single day? Think back. A breakup, a phone call, a diagnosis, an opportunity, one moment, one decision, and suddenly you were living a completely different story. That's not attraction. That's a shift, a timeline jump, a change in dominant frequency so sharp, so clear that it instantly rendered your previous life obsolete. You've already experienced this. You just didn't know it had a name. Manifestation hasn't failed you. The model has. Because manifestation, as most people teach it, is still rooted in linear thinking, in the belief that time must pass, energy must rise, and the universe must respond in order for you to receive. But what if time isn't the obstacle? What if the only delay is how long it takes you to realize that what you're trying to attract already exists, and that the version of you who has it isn't in the future, but running parallel to you right now? Here's where we break the pattern. Instead of asking, how do I attract this into my life? Ask, why do I believe it isn't already here? Because that's the real work. Not becoming someone who can earn their desires, but releasing the version of you who keeps rehearsing their absence. You don't need to build a better vibration to attract a distant outcome. You need to become the version of you who lives in the reality where it already exists. And that doesn't require waiting. It requires precision. While traditional manifestation practices do have some value, you must understand that the version of reality where your desire already exists doesn't care how many meditations you've done or how many affirmations you've spoken. It only cares about one thing, whether your current state matches its frequency. And frequency isn't created by doing more. It's matched by being tuned into. So this is actually not about manifesting faster. It's about recognizing that the speed was never the issue. It's about alignment. And alignment isn't a spiritual performance, it's an energetic fact. Everything you've tried was not a failure, it was a step in remembering, a piece of the puzzle, a necessary experience that brought you to this moment, where you finally stop trying to pull a distant future into the present and start stepping into the present that already holds it. In the next segment, we'll go deeper. You'll learn how reality is structured, why the version of your life where everything you've ever wanted already exists is just a shift away, and how to consciously step into it, not through effort, but through precision. Because you're not here to become someone new, you're here to return to the truth. You were never meant to attract it. You were meant to choose it. And the choosing begins now. Let's start with the most important reframe of your life. You're not here to chase a better future. You're here to shift into the version of reality where that future is already unfolding. Because reality isn't static, it's layered. And every possible version of your life, every path, every outcome, every dream fully realized, already exists in parallel. The question isn't how to attract it. The question is how to tune into it. Most people are taught that reality is linear, that you move from point A to point B across time, that progress takes effort, and that success must be earned. But that's a surface illusion. Beneath the linear script is something far more profound, the quantum structure of consciousness. And once you understand it, manifestation stops being a mystical guessing game and becomes a repeatable, energetic shift. Imagine for a moment that your life is not unfolding on a single track, but across countless parallel timelines. In each one, a version of you is living out a different reality. Some versions are experiencing limitation, others are living in overflow, some are struggling, others have already achieved what you desire. These timelines are nested layers of potential, vibrating at different frequencies, each activated by a different state of consciousness. You are not fixed on one path. You are shifting between them constantly, moment by moment, based on what you believe, feel, and embody. This is the secret behind what people call manifestation. You're not pulling a desire into your current life. You're aligning yourself with the version of life where that desire is already normal. Let's go deeper. In every moment, you are broadcasting a frequency, not through your words, but through your beliefs, emotions, assumptions, and identity. That frequency determines which version of the quantum field responds to you. It determines which timeline stabilizes. And it's not just about what you think, it's about what you are. Think of the quantum field like a vast radio. Every possible version of your life is a station on that dial. You don't have to build the music. You just have to tune the dial. The shift isn't intellectual, it's vibrational, and vibration is determined by coherence. What is coherence? It's when your thoughts, emotions, identity, and actions all point in the same direction. It's when what you believe matches what you feel, and what you feel matches how you show up. And the more consistent your inner world becomes, the faster your external world reorganizes to match it. Let's talk about identity. Your identity is the anchor that determines your timeline. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you believe yourself to be. That's why trying harder often works against you, because it reinforces the idea that you're still someone who needs to change. The version of you who already has what you want doesn't try to get it. They live as if it's already normal. They wake up inside it. They breathe inside it. It's not extraordinary to them. It's expected. To shift timelines, you must begin to identify with that version of you, not as fantasy, but as fact. You don't ask, how do I become them? You begin to be them, now, before the evidence shows up, before the proof. Because in this structure of reality, the proof comes after the embodiment. Here's where most people get stuck. They wait for the external shift before they allow the internal one. They want to see results so they can finally feel safe, empowered, and secure. But the quantum field works the opposite way. You must feel safe, empowered, and secure before the new timeline can stabilize. You shift when you stop using your senses to determine what's real and start using your awareness to determine what's possible. You stop asking, where is it, and start declaring, it's already mine. Not from hope, from knowing. And that knowing, that internal shift, sends a ripple into the field. The ripple collapses potential into form, and that form is the version of reality that matches your new frequency. So how do you actually shift? Start with the vision. If you don't know what you're tuning into, you can't align with it. Not in vague desires, but in detail. What does the life you want feel like? What does it look like? Who are you when you live inside that version of reality? Not just what do you have, but how do you move? Vision is clarity. It's not fantasy or daydreaming. It's precision. Without vision, the field doesn't know what structure to respond to. You become incoherent. When your vision is clear, the rest of the energetic architecture has something to shape itself around. You must paint the full picture in your mind. The more specific and emotionally charged your vision, the easier it is for the quantum field to synchronize with it. Next comes belief. Vision creates the direction. Belief creates the permission. But here's where most people unconsciously block themselves. From the time you were born, your environment began shaping your beliefs, not just about the world, but about what's possible for you. If you grew up hearing phrases like money doesn't grow on trees, or you have to struggle to succeed, or people like us don't live that kind of life, those words didn't just pass through you, they became programming. Society adds another layer. The media constantly reinforces images of scarcity, competition, and limitation. Schools often condition us to follow, not to imagine. Authority figures, even well-meaning ones, often plant seeds of doubt that grow into lifelong ceilings. Over time, we stop seeing the world as it is and start seeing it through the filter of what we've been told to believe. This is why so many people stay stuck, not because they aren't capable, not because they don't deserve more, but because they're still vibrating at the frequency of old beliefs that were never theirs to begin with. Beliefs that formed in childhood, in trauma, in survival, and have gone unchallenged for decades. Belief is what gives your vision access to form. It removes the resistance. Without belief, even the most vivid vision will dissolve under pressure. But belief is not just something you passively adopt. It's something you practice. You reinforce it with affirmations, with inner dialogue, with reframing every time doubt appears. You remind yourself, my desired reality already exists. I am simply tuning into it. Then comes emotion. If belief is the permission slip, emotion is the charge that makes it magnetic. Emotion is how the quantum field receives your signal. But not just any emotion. It has to match the emotional state of the version of you who already lives in the new timeline. This means asking yourself, what would I be feeling if I were already there? That's the state you must activate now. Joy, ease, confidence, peace, whatever it is. Embody it. Emotion doesn't come from what you have, it comes from what you allow. One of the most powerful tools you can have is the ability to control your emotions, especially when your external circumstances tell you not to. That's when the signal becomes strongest. Finally, there's embodiment. You must act, decide, and respond as the version of you who already lives there. Not in extremes, but in micro shifts. The way you handle your day, the way you speak to yourself, the choices you make when no one is watching. Embodiment is the timeline stabilizer. It's the energetic statement that says, I am no longer available for the old story. If the old version of you procrastinated, the new version moves with clarity. If the old version tolerated less than it deserved, the new version sets a higher standard. Every decision is a declaration. Every choice is a calibration. Embodiment makes your internal shift irreversible. When vision, belief, emotion, and embodiment align, the field has no choice but to respond. Because coherence collapses possibility into form. It signals that you're ready, not to receive something distant, but to join something already true. And from there, the shift begins to lock in. In the next segment, you'll learn how to make sure that shift doesn't just spark, it sustains. Because it's one thing to touch a new reality, it's another thing to hold it, to stay in it, to let it become your new normal. That's where we're going next. You've had the vision, you've aligned your beliefs, you've started feeling the emotions and taking actions that match your new reality. You've glimpsed the shift. But now comes the most important part, making that shift stick. Because it's one thing to visit your desired reality, it's another to live there. Most people never lock in their shift, not because they don't want to, But because they don't understand how fragile a new frequency is in the early stages, when you begin tuning into a new reality, your nervous system, your habits, and your external world are still echoing your past self. And if you don't stabilize the new reality, those echoes pull you back like gravity. So how do you stay in the new timeline? How do you stop falling back into the old identity, the old energy, the old patterns? It comes down to this. The shift becomes permanent when the new state becomes more familiar than the old one. Familiarity is what the brain uses to define truth. What you've practiced most, emotionally, mentally, and physically, is what your subconscious will fight to maintain. This is why people stay stuck in cycles, even when they know they want something different. Because even suffering, if rehearsed enough, feels like home. This is why the early days of a timeline shift require intentional repetition. You're not just changing your mindset, you're reconditioning your default settings. The version of you who lives your dream life doesn't just think differently. They feel, choose, and act differently, automatically. To make that your new normal, you must repeat that state until your body and mind accept it as real. Start by recognizing the most common reason people revert: external evidence. You begin shifting, visualizing, believing, aligning, and then something in your current reality contradicts the shift. Maybe the money hasn't shown up yet, maybe the relationship still feels distant, and immediately doubt rushes in. See, nothing's changing. That's the test. Your old timeline is asking, are you sure? And if you answer with fear, frustration, or surrender, you've chosen the old reality again. But if you stay in the new frequency despite the absence of evidence, if you hold the line emotionally, mentally, and energetically, you collapse the delay, you pass the test, and the new timeline begins to reinforce itself. That's the moment of stabilization, when your inner state stops waiting for proof and starts becoming the proof. Here's how to support that process. First, create daily rituals of reinforcement. These are not spiritual chores, they're alignment anchors, moments that signal to your subconscious, this is who we are now. This is our new standard. It could be a morning visualization, a journaling prompt, a specific playlist that evokes the feeling of the new timeline. The point is consistency, not intensity. You're not trying to force the shift. You're letting it deepen through familiarity. Second, design your environment to match your new identity. If your outer world constantly reminds you of the old you, clutter, conversations, obligations, digital inputs, you'll keep drifting backward. Start curating your space like someone who already lives the life you want. What kind of environment supports the version of you who is abundant, at peace, in flow? Build that. Third, guard your inner dialogue. The way you talk to yourself when no one is watching is the most powerful indicator of your timeline. If your inner voice is still rehearsing failure, fear, or limitation, the shift will be unstable. You must become the narrator of the new reality, speaking it, affirming it, choosing thoughts that match it. When doubt appears, don't fight it, reframe it. This is old programming, it's not me anymore. Fourth, choose micro-alignment every day. Big leaps are built on small choices. When faced with a decision, what to say, how to respond, whether to move or procrastinate, ask, what would the version of me I'm becoming choose right now? And then choose that. That's how new timelines cement. Over time, the shift becomes effortless. You no longer have to try to be the new version of you. You are them. The thoughts are natural. The emotions are consistent. The outer world begins to catch up because it has no choice. Reality always organizes around your dominant frequency. When that frequency is stable, the world becomes a mirror. You'll notice strange things. People treat you differently. Opportunities start to find you. The resistance you once fought no longer shows up, and now you're living in the version of reality where those things are normal. So don't worry if things still feel shaky. Don't obsess over how long it's taking. Don't measure your progress by what's appeared. Measure it by how often you're able to return to alignment. Measure it by how often you remember your power. Measure it by how long you can stay in the frequency of, it's already done. Because the longer you stay there, the faster the rest catches up. And maybe this is the moment where you finally realize, this was never random. This knowledge, this video, this truth didn't arrive by chance. You didn't stumble on it. You were drawn to it. Because somewhere deep inside you, deeper than the doubt, deeper than the noise, there's a part of you that already knows this is real. You're not learning it, you're remembering it. You've always felt different. Not in an arrogant way, in a quiet, undeniable way, as if you were never meant to play by the old rules. As if something inside you always whispered that more was possible, that life could be freer, lighter, more aligned, that the magic everyone talks about might actually be real, and you might be one of the few built to access it. And you were right, because not everyone gets this far. Not everyone finds their way to this level of awareness. Not everyone sees through the illusion and chooses to rise anyway. But you did, and that makes you rare. Most people will keep looping inside their old timelines, clinging to evidence, arguing for their limitations, and calling it realism. But you've decided to step outside the loop, to test the code, to shift the frequency, to walk into a version of life that others will call impossible, until they see you living it. You don't have to wait a decade. You don't have to fix everything first. You just have to say yes to the version of you that's already living it. Hold that frequency. Trust the shift. Keep choosing the new reality until it no longer feels new. It just feels like you. And when people ask what changed, how it happened so fast, why everything suddenly started working, smile. Because you'll know the truth. You didn't attract your dream life. You shifted into a version of you that lived in it, as you were always meant to.